If you could be seated for a moment, we have a special initiative happening in the parish we want to describe this weekend. This is the 250th anniversary of our country, 2026. 250 years ago, we signed our Declaration of Independence. So how do we mark this year as a country? How do we celebrate it as parishes? We're formed a committee in the parish of St. Louis and St. Francis to plan some activities for the year. And some question, well, why do we celebrate? What are we celebrating? What are we marking? Is this getting too political? This rises above politics. Our country existed 250 years ago, long before our two current political parties. And the country began planning this celebration 10 years ago with a bipartisan commission which has spanned 3 different presidential administrations. And the chairpersons of the committee, one was President Obama and one was President Bush, just to try to make this apolitical. This is for all Americans, with all of our differences and debates, that our nation, what is our nation? And it's a year to consider that question and to renew and reform. We want to emphasize the virtue of patriotism, which is different than nationalism. Nationalism is my country, right or wrong, might makes right. That's not good. Patriotism is a virtue of I have a responsibility to serve my nation, to make it better, to help it reform, to keep it one nation under God. And so we formed a committee in our 2 parishes to figure out ways that we can do that this year and to teach our children the virtue of patriotism. What part do we have to play? This initiative has 3 parts. One is looking back to remember our history and the Declaration of Independence, to remember our freedoms of freedom of religion, freedom of speech in our Constitution, to, in the present, to recommit ourselves, to recommit our nation as one nation under God, and then to look to the future. What part does our country have to play? There's a neat website that was created which has little videos of the different signers of the Declaration of Independence, telling you their stories. And one is Charles Carroll, who was the only Catholic signer of the Declaration. We're very proud of Charles because he came from Howard County. He's buried 5 miles from here. And at his house, he built a chapel, which was the only place Mass was celebrated in Howard County for 100 years until parishes were established. We were established in 1855. And even once our parish was established at St. Louis, we continued to have Mass at Charles's chapel until the 1990s. And the Carroll family still live there, and they're parishioners. I don't know if they're here today, but we have a beautiful connection to our past and to Charles Carroll. We actually have a stained glass window of Charles here in our church. So we're going to watch a little video clip on Charles telling us his story. If we could turn off the lights, we'll watch that now.
I am Charles Carroll of Carrollton, the wealthiest of the signers and the last to survive. When I took up the Patriot cause, I did so knowing I had more to lose than most. My land, my fortune, my family's name, everything stood in jeopardy. But liberty, once awakened, demands no half measures. As the only Catholic to sign the Declaration, I knew both persecution and principle. I signed it as Charles Carroll of Carrollton to let it be known who I was and that I fully supported this cause. No ambiguity. I risked it all, not for reward, but for a free republic. The question is not what I gave, but what will you?
Pretty powerful. It's almost as if Charles is coming back alive, speaking to us. But they have a video on all 56 signers, including Thomas Jefferson, John Adams. They're fascinating. Also videos of some of the women who participated in the revolution and in that cause. Our country isn't perfect. We have sins in the past, we have sins in the present. Our job is to keep reforming. But you know, our country, as young as it is, 250 years old, has the oldest form of government in the world. Every other country has changed its form of government in the past 250 years. 250 years ago, we had kings and queens, we had emperors. And a lot of countries of the world look to us as a model. We're not perfect, but our freedoms of speech, freedoms of religion, our sense that our rights come from God, not from the government. This is what we want to preserve. This is what we celebrate. Every week in the bulletin, we'll have a little passage talking about either part of our history or part of our Catholic American story, or ways that our country has contributed technologies to the world. So look for that little write-up every week until, for the next 9 months, we'll have it in the bulletin. There's a whole page insert today which describes this effort, and on the back has a list of resources, including links to those videos, places you can visit this year with your family to learn about Catholic American history here in Maryland, and a different initiative. But the initiative for this month, we'll have a different initiative each month, is just to buy a book. It's a really good book. It's called the American Catholic Almanac. And it talks about the stories of different American Catholics. There's one for each day of the year, 365, and it's just one page for each. They're pretty fascinating stories. You'll learn a lot. Some are explorers, some are athletes, some are politicians, some are saints. Al Capone, he's in the book too. He's not, we don't boast too much about him, but there's a fascinating end to the story of his life, which is pretty neat. If you just read this book, you will learn a lot about our country and about our Catholic faith. You know, usually when you buy a book, you read it in 2 weeks and you're done. You buy this book, it'll last all year because there's a different page for each day of the year. You'll get your money's worth. It's available online. There's e-versions. You can buy it new for about $30. You can buy it used. Someone got it used for $7. Really encourage you to get this book. Again, it's listed on the back page of our resources in the bulletin. There's also 2 copies of it at the welcome desk if you just want to see it. Don't take them, but if you want to snap a picture of it and then purchase it at home, highly encourage it.